Today, we're going to look at the specifics of fat loss versus weight loss, and if you testing your weight is actually helping you reach your goals or hindering you from getting there. Hey there, Jerome with Exalted Vigor Athletics, and if you can tell, my voice is a little raspy and hoarse, and that is because I've been sick this entire weekend. Yesterday, I was on the couch over there the entire day, and it was not splendid. We're going to talk in detail about fat loss versus weight loss. So more specifically is what is the definitions of fat loss and weight loss, what that looks like when we're focusing on fat loss instead of weight loss. And as well, I want to give a little personal story of a client that I worked with and his struggles with body composition testing and just focusing primarily on weight rather than his body composition. And then finally, we'll talk about the benefits of focusing on fat loss and what that means for your body composition and how you actually physically look when you primarily focus on decreasing body fat. And I hope you guys enjoy. So I want to go ahead and get started by talking about the denotations of body composition, so your fat mass, lean mass, and then go ahead slightly into more what that means when we're talking about weight loss and fat loss. So your body composition, quite literally, is what your body is composed of. So by that, I mean your fat mass and your lean mass. So your fat mass specifically is your fat. So all of your body that is composed of that is fat is your fat mass. When we look into more specifically lean mass, your lean mass is going to be your muscles, your bones, your organs, everything that is not that fat mass that we were just talking about. So when you're talking about body composition testing, we're able to look at the differences between your fat mass and your lean mass as well. Versus when you're just checking your weight out, so just hopping on a scale, looking at what do I weigh on the scale, you're just looking at that number slapped together and what is that? So that is your weight. Which is why I want to talk about the importance of body composition testing versus body weight testing. So body weight is quite literally what you weigh wherever you are. So it's physics. Physics, just mass times gravity. And no matter where you are, your weight is going to be the same. So if I'm in Cancun or if I'm in San Antonio, Texas, Texas flag right here, I will weigh whatever I weigh. If I'm on Jupiter, I'll weigh 400 pounds. If I'm on Mars, I'll weigh 80 pounds. And those are just numbers I threw out. Like, they're irrelevant because weight is kind of not really important when we're talking about weight loss and when we're talking about knowing what your actual numbers are. Because weight is literally just a number that is physics. It doesn't really tell you much more than just your weight, which is why body composition testing is so important. So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm ideally mainly focused on trying to lose fat. If all you do is test your weight, which is, fat mass and lean muscle mass slapped together, you don't know what you're losing primarily because you don't know what that body composition is. Let's say I'm really just focused on fat loss. So let's, for example, say someone says 150 pounds, they're 10% body fat. So 15 pounds of their body is going to be fat. The other 135 pounds of their body is going to be that lean mass. What you're really focused on a fat loss protocol is trying to lose that 15 pounds. The 135 pounds that you have is, you worked hard for that muscle. You don't want to really lose the muscle that you've worked hard for. So that 15 pounds is what you're trying to focus on as far as, fat loss goes. If we're thinking about weight loss, we don't really look at what we're losing fat-wise. We're looking at what we're losing overall. So let's say you lose 5 pounds. You could have lost, 5 pounds of muscle. You could have lost 5 pounds of fat. A combination of the two, obviously most ideally, primarily fat, but because you don't know your body composition, you really just don't know what specifically that you're losing. So next I want to talk about is the client that I've been training for about 4 months at the time that this became an issue. We had been training for 4 months and, he'd been working really hard. His goals were to, keep up with his children and just, overall improve his health, put on some muscle, lose some fat, et cetera, et cetera. While we had been training for these 4 months, he had only lost a net of 2 pounds, which when we think of that as just weight, that is kind of disheartening and that's kind of, disappointing because he had worked so hard to lose that weight and, to get his nutrition on track, to get his workouts on track, but he only lost 2 pounds. Oh, sorry. But when we looked at his body composition, because we had done body composition testing from day one, we had noticed that he had lost 19 pounds of fat and actually put on 17 pounds of muscle, which, when you think of that, remarkable change in a 4 month period, that's substantial. That's super impressive. And I, kept reiterating that to him, that, you've done such great results, and I don't want you to pay attention to, the net of 2 pounds, because there had been so much more that he was able to change. And we were noticing and, able to actually track, because we did body composition testing. Not only was he able to keep up with his children better, but he was able to, work harder, push himself a lot harder in the gym. He was feeling healthier, had more energy. And that's all because he'd been, working really hard, and these body compositions had been changing as a result of all his hard work. And that is why I really want to harp on the importance of body composition testing, because unless you know your body composition, your weight is literally just a number and nothing else. So I want to go ahead and bridge back to focusing on fat loss. So when you focus on, body composition testing and fat loss, you're able to improve your body composition, which means you're improving your body composition by decreasing body fat percentage. So by having lower body fat, you have less fat visibly blurring your muscles. So by default, your muscles are improving their tone, which means that your muscles tone is actually more visible, so you can actually see more muscular definition by just decreasing body fat percentage. And that's great, because, if you're just decreasing the weight, you don't know if you're decreasing your body fat. And, that body fat is going to be the big chunk of your weight that is going to make your muscle tone either visible or not visible, which aka means that you're more jacked and tan. Not really, but maybe you can hit the sunbed as well. Um, sorry. All right, and that is a wrap of this fat loss versus weight loss video. We kind of touched base on what we talked about today. So fat loss versus weight loss. When we're talking on fat loss, we're talking about that body composition, so your fat mass and your lean mass as well. Then going on into detail of what that looks like when we're thinking about just weight. So weight, how that is not really relevant because it's just physics. And until you look at more specifically into your body composition, you don't really know what you're either composed of, and you don't know what you're primarily losing or gaining. So either for those that are focusing on fat loss, or even for those that are focusing on putting on mass, you could easily just be putting on fat if you're not doing it properly. Then I went into detail on a client story and his struggles with body composition, and how he had only lost 2 pounds throughout our time, 4 months. But because he had, lost 19 pounds of fat and put on 17 pounds of muscle, that change over that 4 month period was so much more substantial. And then finally went into detail about, body composition, and when you focus on fat loss, how that improves your body composition by decreasing the visible fat blurring your muscles. So by default, making your muscles look more toned and making you look like you're in much better shape as well. So if you guys go down to the description below, I'll have a link to our blog post, which will help you and give you some ideas on more specifics on this topic. And as well, you'll also have a link there to get our caloric intake calculator. This caloric intake calculator will help you for either fat loss protocols or any lean muscle mass building protocols you have, and just kind of tell you the numbers that you kind of need to hit to reach those goals as well. Yeah, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you give it a thumbs up if you like content, subscribe if you want subscribe if you want to have regular updates on when we do these videos again. Finally, have a good day.